You're listening to an Anazao Ministries podcast.
Well, hey everyone, hey Systematic Theologians. We are here this evening with a What's New, and the hottest of hot right now, What's New is One Piece and Ahsoka, One Piece live action, Ahsoka live action show on Disney Plus. Got some yin, yang, two sides to the same puzzle. The shirt, Will, is very balanced. And mentioning Will, we're here today with Will and with TJ, some Star Wars and at least one other One Piece aficionado. We might be working on Will here. We might be working on Will based on.
We've got to convert Will.
Yeah, we've got to convert Will. It's a huge commitment, you know.
The show helps. The live action show helps. It does.
There you go. Hey, I think that's the design and intent of the live action show. But we'll get into that. How you guys doing today?
I'm good. I did go surfing today. I chased some hurricane waves. Hurricane Lee split the uprights, which means it went between the Outer Banks and Bermuda, which is all what surfers want to do. East Coast surfers want that to happen. So I'm a little tired, had some other church stuff, but watched Ahsoka last night and then woke up early to go surfing. So I'm good.
Excellent. Well, excellent. What about you, TJ? Where are you at today?
Man, today I worked and then finally made it through Apex Legends Season 18 ranked matchmaking. Placement matches, horrible stuff.
Wow. If you're out there in the Apex Legends world, you know, more power to you. That's its own thing going on over there. I'm having one of those days. I don't know if you're having one of those days, but a rough day for me at work. So I am ready for some good old fashioned systematic theologian escapedom. So here we are. Let's jump in and start by talking this evening about the Ahsoka show. So this week's show was somewhat of a big deal. Disney Plus put it in select runs and in theaters even for this episode. Definitely some cinematic mastery going on. So what did you guys think? What were your first impressions of the Ahsoka episode we had last night?
Oh man. TJ, go for it.
So I actually kind of got spoiled. We were in here, me and my roommate last night, because I've got like a special project going on for my dad. That's like a late Christmas present. It's a little, I don't want to say it on stream because he might see it, but
it might be Christmas, like this Christmas you could give it to him.
Yeah, it might take that long. But, I was showing him like the build and stuff, and Ahsoka was playing on my other monitor. And then he started asking me questions about Ahsoka. And I was like, what, dude? We're watching it at the same time. I don't know. And then I looked something up, and the cast list showed Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I hadn't seen episode 5 yet. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Whatever. So, I don't know. I think it was pretty good. I think it was pretty good. I feel like they could have done... Hayden Christensen, I feel like got done his justice, but the flashback scenes, they seem kind of clunky.
Yeah.
It seemed like the clone troopers were like AI, not actually, but just kind of slow.
They just hit copy and paste on Tamura Morrison,
Yeah.
And that's how that works.
It worked.
They did that in the prequels too. They copy and pasted.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But overall, like, I thought it was really good. I think this might be my favorite live action Star Wars show now.
I feel like when it concludes, we need to put it head to head. For me, like, we need to talk about like this show in conversation with Andor and with like the first season specifically of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I think those are the big three contenders that are going to be on the top of people's lists.
Yeah. I have a friend who said this is the best thing to happen to live action Star Wars since Revenge of the Sith. Which kind of shows his age and my age.
Wow.
Well, if you're a fan of Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars and the Clone Troopers and then the actual animated Clone Wars cartoon and Ahsoka, then this is going to be at your top of your list. I think the series as a whole, I've loved it. I think it's everything that I wanted for an Ahsoka show. Like, if they're tell me what do you want to see happen in an Ahsoka show, I want to see her being a little bit of broody, a little bit of mystery. I want to see her lightsaber battle. I want to see the cast of rebels come in. I want to see a grand scope of a universe and them exploring and trying to figure out what's going on with what happened before and after and her past. And is she a Jedi or not? And I think all that's in there. My only nitpick, old man nitpick, is it's just like I think some of the dialogue, acting, and editing is somewhat off and clunky to me. There's certain scenes that they just hang on them too long, and I'm like, what are we doing? Or maybe that's on purpose or not. Like I don't know. There's some editing choices that I'm still kind of, and I felt that way with Obi-Wan. I like the story of Obi-Wan and some stuff, but there's some editing stuff that I was like, what are we doing? And so I feel like that same thing is happening here, but the grand scope of the storytelling and what's happening with her journey is great. And I think even my wife, who didn't watch any of the anime stuff, only watched like the main movies, have watched some of the live action TV shows on Disney Plus, but pretty much doesn't know who Ahsoka is. She's been watching and follow along, and then she'll say, pause it, ask a question, like, okay, cool, and then go back into it. So that's, it's holding her attention who's not in there too. But I would say the cliffhanger, we can go into different episodes, but the first two were great. The third one, the dogfight in space, was so Star Wars, and like you get spaceships fighting lasers and dogfighting, and her hopping on space, the edge of the ship and doing her thing. I was like, man, that's so cool. And then 4 started off a little slow, but then at the end, I love Balin's skull. Like, so much. And I hate that this actor passed away. That I don't know if they kill him off at the end of the season or if they had plans for him, if they have to recast, but like the way he carries the weight of like a classic Star Wars character who's a Sith but not is just so awesome. And so them fighting it out in episode 4, and then the cliffhanger, and then what happened last night, going through these flashback scenes with young Ahsoka. I mean, I hope people know if we're talking about this, there's spoilers. Like, don't watch this. I love the young Ahsoka. I love walking through. They could only do so much, I think, creating the Clone Wars without like just breaking the bank and doing all those things. So I kind of get it. They had to make it smoky and elusive. They're in a dreamlike world between worlds place, so it has to be that way. But I think all in all, I'm glad they didn't get like too time trippy and like she hopped in and met Thrawn face to face through like a portal, or changed the course of history of Star Wars by doing something in the world between worlds, which I was a little nervous about. Dave Filoni knows what he's doing with these characters because they're his, and he directed and wrote last night. And man, I thought it was great. Yeah. And we'll get a little bit later, James. You tell your thing, but like, okay, when you have 2 Lutheran pastors here, we're going to talk baptismal theology.
Oh, we got to talk about the baptism scene.
And Jonah, the story.
Oh yeah.
Jonah.
Oh wow. I didn't even make that connection yet. Okay.
What, James?
I know. I'm tired. It's been
I know you're tired, but
they're not whales. All right.
Yeah.
Neither was Leviathan.
They're big space fish. Okay.
Big space fish. So yeah, do your take. I talk way too much, but I'm geeking on this. I love it. I loved it last night's episode, and man, it's what's hot right now, and I can't wait to see. We have 3 more episodes left, so we'll go from there. James, what's your hot take, and then we'll talk some baptismal theology.
My so first I'll start with my favorite piece of meme content that I've seen over the past couple weeks, and you're absolutely right. One of the other pieces of memes that I've seen is someone saying, Hayden Christensen, but with great acting skills. His performance, he really did nail it. True enough. But my favorite meme that I've seen so far is just a picture of Dave Filoni holding a sign, and someone has inscribed on the sign, "Your Star Wars theory sucks." Because so many people are just like out there and like way left field with some crazy theories, and it's just like, Occam's razor, the simplest answer is often the most correct answer. Definitely proved to be true with this most recent episode. I love this. I love this series. I love these characters. I don't think, however, that they have come through on their promise that you don't need to watch Rebels or Clone Wars to understand fully what's going on. I think so. I think what I've heard pretty consistently is the biggest piece of criticism for the show is that the characters themselves sort of feel like there's some clunky writing, and they feel very stoic and reserved. And if you don't know their story, right? We're getting to One Piece. Don't worry.
No, right.
If you don't know their stories here, right? Like you don't understand how they got to this sort of like jaded, stoic, reserved point. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think what they tried to do is like have that invite people in and like wonder why they're like that. But
the mystery box of it all.
I don't know if it worked.
Yeah,
fully in the way that they thought it was going to work. And that's why I think some of the scenes, some of the dialogue feels, TJ, as you said, just kind of clunky, kind of. I leaned over to my fiance last night and I just said, you know, they're, I love it, but like they're doing so little with so much, you know, like this action sequences are incredible, no complaints, but it just feels for me very, very drawn out and very little plot progress happens over the course of each episode. The first two episodes were great, things were moving quick, felt like we were going where we need to go. These last two episodes we have really slowed the pace down.
Yeah, and I agree. Like they'll hang on a scene a little too long, and I'm like, why are we still watching? I know like they're the contemplative Jedi stoic. I'm a master, but yeah, I'm looking out into the distance. But even like the relationship between like Sabine and Ahsoka, like there's some mystery there, and I like the master and apprentice level, but then the sense of urgency or the dialogue is a little clunky. But that's made up with the fact that there's cool lightsaber battles and good lasers, and Balin is like just takes over when he takes over the orange lightsaber and his dialogue. And I like it that there's acrobatics, but they're not like flipping all over the place like the prequels. Like they're walking around like samurai warriors,
right,
feeling each other out, and they're like their own fighting style position, you know. And even like episode 4, like, you know, with Vader and Obi-Wan just kind of circling around each other, taking it in, what's going on. I like them hanging on those scenes. That gets me, but it's the dialogue in the cockpit of the Ghost or other places that you're kind of like, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Ironically, that's like a problem One Piece also famously has.
Yes.
That's the way most people these days like catch up to One Piece is by watching One Piece, which cuts out all of those scenes.
Yep.
Oh, in the anime TV show, not the recent,
not the one we're talking about, but
right.
For sure. Yeah, similar critique could easily be leveled, especially at the anime of One Piece. Manga feels a little different, but the anime One Piece, so many flashbacks.
But for Ahsoka, I'm so excited for the Purgil to like be back in the story.
Ooh, that
was the coolest part of Rebels. It was so sick, and ever since then, they've just been like vaguely alluding to them being around here and there.
Yeah, they look.
In episode 3, they're like dogfighting around them, and I'm like, "Oh, this is so cool! This is so cool!" And we know they would show back up, and as a way to get to where they need to go. But man, they really show back up in episode 5.
They looked incredibly fantastic too.
Yeah,
I mean, like, who pay the VFX people because they're doing their job, especially with those burgles. For me, I think one of the things as the episode went along, where Ahsoka just like seemed to acquire some new abilities that she hasn't demonstrated before, like when she picked up the map and sort of did the Force memory ability that Cal Kestis is really known for in the Star Wars Fallen Order and Survivor games. I was like, can anyone just do that now? Because that was a special thing up until this moment that not everyone could do. And then when she connected with the Purgle, too, very similar to how Ezra does in Star Wars Rebels, I thought that was also sort of a special, unique Force ability.
Yeah.
So there was some flattening of those kind of cool elements of Star Wars, those niche things that I didn't super love. I would have loved if Jason had done the Force memory thing, and then that was a special ability that he has that he just awoke in that moment. But I digress.
Yeah. I love Jason. Like conceptually so far, like even just by his name, Jason, like Jason Solo, a real good Star Wars child from before Disney owned it.
I wonder if that name is a hint Jason Solo, Jason Sandula, are they going to bring in some Legends content for his future story and plot?
So that's one
thank
thing,
you. Yes, psychometry.
That's one thing I noticed in episode 1 or 2, where the Night Sister mentions the Eye of Sion.
Yep.
And like Darth Sion.
Yep.
And they said nothing else about it except, having it. But man.
Yeah, they're poking at some Legends, some pretty classic Legends content and stuff, and we'll see. I think those Easter eggs are sprinkled in there really intentionally.
Yeah, Filoni knows that really well, and then he's using his characters from Rebels and Clone Wars, those things. But then he's using some Legends and extended universe and expanded universe things, and that's a lot of fun. All right, so let's talk. Can we talk real fast about like baptismal theology?
Baptism.
I have one more problem with the
show. Go for it.
Well, we'll baptize it.
They run so slowly.
Yes.
Ahsoka is so fast, and she runs so slowly in the live action.
Somehow, I guess force speed does not translate.
Yeah, every time I watch a Star Wars show, and there's like no force speed. Like, what do you?
Yeah.
Is that one staying like for one person only? Like, do we not do that anymore?
Yeah, that's good. We'll bring that up.
Yeah, thanks for naming another problem. I feel like we're just sitting around talking about the issues we have with this episode. This episode, for me at least, was incredible. We're splitting hairs here. Hayden Christensen's performance was excellent. The scenes of the flashback scenes were, I think, really well done. Some awesome cameos.
So moving. Like even like the young, like I don't get that emotional with Star Wars, but like I get excited about it. But like when young Ahsoka is like over a clone trooper's body and like sad, like I've legitimately felt myself tearing up, and I'm like, why am I tearing up? Like I'm like, this is good. This is moving. Like this whole thing of war and what's going on in her journey and what she has to emerge out of, like, and the whole Vader thing and the Sith eyes. Like there's a part where she's flirted with the dark side and her eyes flash, like that could be her. Like, so freaking good. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if Filoni is Catholic or liturgical or has Christian background, but in terms of like biblical, liturgical, like ancient, church, capital C theology of baptism, they nailed it. Like it's like, you die to oneself and emerge as someone new. And she even had like lighter clothes on, like she had a white tunic, and her rising out and being brought out by the X-Wing fighter out of the waters, literally dead, but then waking up to a new way of seeing. And you could see her face just being brighter, a little bit more smiley, like, all right, I've come through and finished my training. And or maybe she hadn't finished training, but almost, or maybe she did. Like maybe she has finished her training. She has that resolution with Anakin to move on. And but this rise into new life, new life emerging out of water was incredible.
Right. Yeah. No, it was. I mean, irregardless of Filoni's personal convictions, he's definitely pulling on some really timeless sort of conversion motif imagery. Yeah. Certainly, baptism is where we would locate that. But it's. I think with that, Ahsoka, what am I trying to parse out here? If her writing and dialogue gets better or different, or it feels more sort of organic and less sort of like clunky and stoic, we can look back at this moment as being like, oh, that was intentional. Right. What came before this? You know what I mean? So that remains to be seen. I think we saw a little flashes of that here and there. But I think like this is going to be a series because of that moment in particular that we're going to have to wait to judge really some of these things until we see the entirety of it and see, the development and the plot sort of go forward.
Yeah. And then hopefully like Hera gets her own baptism moment and becomes less stoic.
Well, yeah, there you go.
And you know, and if you go, we're gonna go back to the Jonah image of like in a whale being transported to a place where you're called to go. Like I've always seen the fish or the whale or that transportation that happens in Jonah as a means of grace to course correct where Jonah should be going, not necessarily as a punishment, but a means of grace to lead him where he's being called to go. And so here coming out of baptism, and Jesus uses the image of Jonah and the whale, or Jonah and the fish, 3 days rising again. Like Jesus even uses that as a part of his own story of death and resurrection. So here you go. You were using a death resurrection motif of new life, and her literally going into a purgle, being transported to somewhere where not knowing where she's going to go or what she's going to meet when she gets there. Are they going to repent? Is she going to be war? Are things going to be okay? Not where. I just love that so much. And it was on the nose, but man, I'm there for it. I thought it was great. Literally on the nose. She tapped it on the nose, and then the biblical imagery was on the nose. So
my favorite part about that was I just caught me off guard. I should have expected this, but the bristles that they had in their mouths, like an actual whale, I was like, oh man, that's really cool.
That was super interesting to me because
what do they eat?
Space krill? They eat space krill?
Yeah. So I'm watching the show, and it starts to open its mouth, and I was like, oh, it's baleen. Why is it baleen? Right. What is it filtering out of the air to eat?
Right.
Mm-hmm. X-wing fighters.
Is it space dust?
Actually, no. What Rebels does, I think, answer this question. There's a whole episode where they first encounter the Purgle, and they're like on some system that it's mining specific.
Yeah, they eat space dust.
I'm trying to remember.
Space dust.
But I didn't remember that at the time. It's been a long time since I watched Rebels.
I didn't until this moment. You're right.
Yeah, but super cool design. I love it.
Yeah,
it would be much, much scarier if they were like toothed or beaked whales in space.
Narwhals. We were there, James. We got it. We're right there, James. That's so good. All right,
but
good. Anything else? Anything else with this particular? I know I'm not a big One Piece fan. I love the live action. I'm halfway through the series, but I know you guys are like super fans. So I'm ready to hear what your take on that and to help me through that. But anything else on Ahsoka?
Yes. Harrison Dula's actor, Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Mm-hmm.
I know is a great actor. Most people don't recognize her. That's Ramona Flowers from Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
What?
Whoa, wait a minute.
Also,
you blew Pastor Will's mind.
Also currently married to Owen McGregor.
Yeah, I knew
he did know that.
I did not realize. Now I know she looks. I love Scott Pilgrim so much. It's like my top 5 maybe favorite movies of all time. So I love it so much. And so now that it's Ramona, I'm gonna love her even more.
Yeah, are you excited
for she is?
You excited for the Netflix animated Scott Pilgrim?
Heck yeah. When is that gonna drop?
November, I think. Okay. Or
I'm there for it.
Next year sometime? I'm not sure.
I love those graphic novels first, and then when we'll do a whole episode on Scott Pilgrim. But genius. But Ramona as Hera now, okay, great, fantastic. Yeah. She's
also in Sky High.
Deep cut.
Oh, that's weird. Fun. Well, hey, so obviously, is there going to be a season prediction? I don't know if it's out there. Season 2 of Ahsoka. I know Dave Filoni has a movie of like the Filoniverse, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Boba Fett. They're all going to come together to these animated show and live action shows are going to come together for a big movie here. The writer strike's going to set it back some more, but that's coming. Are we going to have another season of Ahsoka? How is this season going to end, do you guys think?
So I think that Thrawn will either be the driving force behind the big movie, or and if not, then yes, absolutely, there is going to be Ahsoka season 2 because Thrawn's not somebody you take out in the next 4 episodes.
Yeah, he might get revealed in the last episode, and then get ready for season 2 3 years from now or something.
Yeah.
I think the pace is going to have to pick up for the second season. I think there either will be a second season or it will be a directly tie into the movie. I don't know if some of the other shows are there yet, which makes me wonder, is the Mandalorian, is that cast of characters set and ready for this crossover movie? I don't know that they are. I don't know what a season 4 of that looks like, but it's gonna be an interesting question. I think we will see more of Ahsoka. I do think she makes it out of this season. I think I would be doubtful that she makes it out of whatever crossover movie. I think they're setting her up to be that sort of emotional character that makes that ultimate sacrifice probably during that movie. The only reason I'm speculating this is because she is in that sort of litany of voices that Rey hears at the end. She's not like somewhere else in some galaxy. She is with the living force at that point. So, is Jason going to be a part of Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy, or is he going to survive and move on? I like this droid that makes lightsabers. Is that the same droid that is at Galaxy's Edge that gives you and makes your lightsabers?
So at Galaxy's Edge, it's not a droid.
Okay.
At least not like the little one, the non-experienced one, it might be.
Right.
But it's been like 9 years since I did that one.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not, it's going to be. Hu Yang is coming for you.
People.
Yeah.
Hu Yang's awesome. I love Hu Yang.
Shout out to David Tennant.
Also super funny that David Tennant is just a robot.
Yeah. I want to know behind the scenes, like if he acted those scenes too, like if he's in a VFX sort of. I'm sure he is.
Probably.
Yeah. David Tennant, the unsung hero of like so many different projects in geekdom.
All right, let's do it.
Are we setting our sails?
Setting our sails.
Set sails.
All right, I'm just going to listen. I just will say that I find this show super charming. I like the actors. I like the main Luffy is the main character that I just fantastic. It's James Avatar for Systematic Ecology, and like the characters and their backstories and kind of going. I like this world. I didn't know this world a lot until the live action. And maybe I tried to watch an anime or I looked at the manga a little bit, but like that, my main interest to this world is this live action, and I like the world they're in. So I'm for it. I'm going to finish it here soon, but you guys take over. What do you think? Teach me. I'm the apprentice to the masters. Oof. And I have about 10 minutes, so do it in 10 minutes.
Okay. Wow. First thing I want to say is that the One Piece is real. It's out there.
The One Piece is real.
The One Piece is real. This series has been a ton of fun. I have had to let go of a lot of things to be able to have enduring fun with it. I just had to recognize that because of the necessities of live action, because of the necessities of the format, because of the cost to produce these sets and all of this stuff, it's going to necessarily have to be adapted in a different way than the manga and the anime was. And so for coherence sake, right, the writers and creators of the show have had to order things differently, have had to introduce characters at different times, like, for instance, the Garp thing. So in the manga anime, you don't find out Garp is Luffy's. Sorry, this spoils it for you, Will. I don't know if you're there yet. You don't find out that Garp was Luffy's grandfather until like manga chapter almost 400. I mean, it's like you're 4 or 5 arcs past where the show ends when you find out.
Garp's first appearance, period, I think is in like 97, and that's just on a cover.
Correct. Yeah, he's not like and when this manga period unfolds, Garp is not a part of this at all. Kobe is, Helmeppo is, Captain Morgan, yes, Kuro, so it's just going to have to necessarily be a different thing. I love so much that Oda Sensei has blessed it and put his stamp on it. That means a lot to me as a One Piece fan. Josh jumped in earlier and said we need a whole episode dedicated to this. We probably do, so we can treat this 10 minutes as a teaser.
Right.
That could be
what's new. We did, when the season, I guess is all out, but like a whole particular. I was just on this analyzing it, but there's so many One Piece fans in our host land. I know it's a big deal in fandom. So like that, 100%.
But just sort of litmus test here. For me, at least, on the success of the show is your reaction, Will. I think this show was designed to invite people into this world. and get their hooks in them and make them more interested in the manga or the anime. And I think it 10 out of 10 met and exceeded that expectation.
It's not just when it gets, if you were just like, oh, I'm gonna click on this because it's a Netflix show and it's about pirates, cool. Yeah. You know, but then like all of a sudden it's almost like a cartoon world, it's a fantasy world, it's a superhero world. There's special effects, people have powers. It's like, what is going on here? Yeah. But I know Scott, same with Scott, we talked about Scott Pilgrim, same way. Like you're in that world, they're real, their relationships, all of a sudden it turns into like a video game and there's like superpowers and swords pulling out of people, and Scott Pilgrim has leveled up an extra life or meaning of life. Like all those things are happening, and the same thing's happening here. And I think I guess I put on Priest to the Geeks, but on our Facebook page, but like, I mean, Luffy, like, I'm like, please, someone who's doing a Fantastic Four movie and talks about Reed Richards and Mr. Fantastic, like, please watch how he does this. Like, this is how Mr. Fantastic should be in live action. And I want to know more about the characters, and that's coming, and they're charming, and like the hope or the redemption and the quest that everybody's on. I'm there. I think it's fun. I think it's fun. And I go in having fun. I'm not looking at, and James, you're talking about, you went in, you had to let go of some things. That's the same way I feel about like Star Wars or you know, Love and Thunder. I had to let my favorite comic book of almost all time is the Jason Aaron run of Thor, and there's no way they could match it. That news, I went in having fun. I had fun. I had nitpick it, and it's not the best Thor movie of mine out there that I love, but you go in, you set expectations. TJ is such a good master to I'll be his apprentice when it comes to expectations and going in to enjoy and have fun with it. But that's the stewardship of our geekdom that and fanboy-ishness. So yeah, I love it. It's fun. It's introduced me to this world. It has me asking questions, and so I'll finish the season, and then I'll, maybe keep going and let you guys share with me your favorite 5 episodes of the anime, and I'll watch those next.
Yeah. So you may be shocked to hear this. Okay. I did not have expectations for this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
Probably smart. Probably very wise.
That this needed to give me nothing. I'm already a fan of the show. Mm-hmm. They've got me. They've had me for the past 1,050 chapters. The first 6 were a little rough, but yeah, I thought this was fantastic actually. Because I'm not reading it as like, okay, they're adapting One Piece. This is a new separate One Piece for a more casual fan. That being said, it's still like 8 hours long.
Yeah.
7 hours long. I like a lot of the changes that they make personally. I feel like it helps a lot with I like to call it macro versus micro pacing. One Piece, the anime, has really bad micro pacing issues.
Yes.
So like scenes stay too long, stare down way too long, vista too long, stuff like that. That's micro pacing. Macro pacing is I also had this haircut, to be fair. Kind of rude to do that from the podcast's channel, but
that was me. I wrote that in.
Oh, okay.
I wrote that. That was me.
Oh, good. Okay, that makes me feel better about it.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
But in middle school, I didn't have this in high school. But the cuts they make, I think, keep the story the same enough.
Yeah.
And the only scene that I feel like they extended was actually, there's one change I don't agree with. They changed most of the fight in Arlong Park. They just kind of like swapped it all around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It serves the same purpose, so like it still works. Well, that's next. And everything else was good. I lost my train of thought. Sanji and Zeph's backstory, they made that way longer, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because in the manga, it's one chapter.
Yeah.
It's a few pages.
Quick.
Mm-hmm. And it hits so well in the live action.
Yeah.
Nice. That might be my favorite change.
Okay, good. I really liked how they handled Sanji's character. Mm-hmm. That character is always going to be a challenge because it's like classic manga, anime, like overly pervy guy. How do you bring that to today's audience in a way that's not like really creepy and off-putting right off the bat? I love this. I knew it was going to work. So my fiance Nicole loves that I love One Piece. But several things she can't stand about it. Probably the number one thing, she's like, I can't watch it. All of these women have these incredibly unrealistic proportions.
Yeah.
That's how we'll say it. And she said, "Oh yeah, they're normal. That's nice."
I was very glad.
I can stomach this.
I'm glad they didn't try to go for that.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right though, TJ. The show really did well for the most part with pacing. The changes that they made felt really necessary. I liked what they did with Garp. I think it was a wise choice looking back. I love what they did with the whole scene with Mihawk and Don Krieg, who you don't really get to meet, but like feels like one of the most superfluous villains in the whole series. Like, I think I loved that they did that to him and just like wrote him off real quick. The only thing that I loved most of the characters. I thought Usopp was great. I thought Sanji was great. I thought they nailed the casting for Nami. I think she did it really well. Luffy is going to have to be a little bit different, I think, in live action than he is in the manga. And the sense I got that in this series, Luffy has to be of necessity a little bit more aware of his actions and what's going on on a larger scale than Luffy displays to me in the manga. Luffy is just like blissfully unaware and uncaring at all times in the manga, and you can't have that character in live action. It's just different. But I think Iñaki is just so damn charming. Dang charming. And Oda talked about the casting choice, and he was chosen because he made Oda laugh. And that is what One Piece is about. It's supposed to be a goofy, funny, wonderful story. He embodies that. If you have a moment, go to YouTube and watch. There's a great YouTube video of a compilation of Iñaki scaring Makenyu, who's the Zoro actor, in different interviews because he's so loud and boisterous, like a Luffy would be. And it's pure comedic gold. In that, I'll say the only sort of acting piece I would have liked to have seen a little bit more is Zoro, actually. Makenyu is an established Japanese actor. He's great. I thought he did a great job. The choice to make Zoro very stoic at all times is something that I was a little bit sad by, because Zoro does have that side to him. And it comes out when it needs to come out, I think, in the story, in the manga, and in the anime. But also there's this like delightfully playful side to him. And he is the butt of a lot of comedic jokes in One Piece. And that didn't come up, and I missed that. That's one thing I missed.
Yeah, he very much is the guy who will put 6 tons on the end of a stick and, overhead swing that 1,000 times a day. But he's also really, really funny.
Yeah. Right.
And that level to him was lost, which is unfortunate.
Right. So we're gonna talk about Gear 5. I think the way to transition into this, hold on one second, is let's add this to the many things that are the long list of things that are really going to complicate live action One Piece as it goes forward. The most pressing question is how they're going to do everyone's favorite Tony Chopper, who is, well, a reindeer who eats the human fruit and can transform between reindeer and human and stay in the middle most of the time. How do they bring that live action? Do they puppet it? Do they CGI? Like, what do they do? So
does this happen in this season? Or do you think they're it's doing well, so it's going to get a second season? This is definitely
second season will most definitely probably have to do something with Chopper in it. That arc, either they skip it or I don't know how they do it.
Second season guaranteed?
I don't know if it's been officially guaranteed. It's probably all but certain to happen at this point.
I think they wrote it already.
Did they? Okay.
I saw that. I'm not sure if it was a credible source, but I'm pretty sure I saw that.
Okay. I've heard some whispers, but I haven't.
I'll say
I don't know if I've seen anything like directly from Netflix.
Yeah,
which is where I see them.
This is the best anime live action adaptation I think that exists. I do think the Death Note one is better than it gets credit for.
Okay.
Entirely because of Willem Dafoe as Ryuk. Everything else in the movie is bad. So.
Well, I don't know if it lives up to me yet. To the Dragon Ball movie.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
Sorry, complete sarcasm here, folks. But Gear 5 will.
Speed Racer.
Speed Racer. I actually really found Speed Racer endearing and charming.
That's on Max right now, and I have it queued up. Like I want to watch that all the way through. So like I don't
know if you're being sarcastic, TJ. I actually really don't that movie.
Speed Racer is great. Speed Racer is a fantastic adaptation.
One of the most underrated, unsung. Like just watch that movie and ponder your life, and things become clear. But Gear 5 is Luffy's most recent and probably ultimate power up in the series. I don't know if I want to say anything other than that, except for the fact that we waited on something like this for a very, very long time to happen to Luffy. And it finally, when it came about, paid off big time. So one of the I think things that keeps, sorry, my cat is decided to play with my pop collection, which I do not like. But one of the things about One Piece, I think that keeps me going is all of these unanswered questions. What's the nature of Luffy's power? What about all of these mysteries that really season 1 didn't really, the only mystery that season 1 got into was where is the One Piece, which is the driving one for sure. But along the way, so much world building occurs, so many questions get asked that really haven't even been answered as of yet. And we're waiting for that payoff. And if the most recent arc that's ongoing, the Egghead Island arc, is any indication, the payoff is going to be very sweet when we get to some of those questions.
Oh, yeah. We're like on the cusp of falling into the pit of knowledge.
Correct. Yeah.
But if you were wondering, Will, Gear 5 would be like a season 10 live action thing, probably 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah. Huge deal though. If you get more interested in One Piece, just watch like the most recent 8 episodes.
Yeah. And I think that, in terms of fandom, like is where you're jumping on point, kind of thing. Same with Star Wars. There's so much content, or Marvel MCU, so much content. There's certain comic books have like 700, 800 issues. And so they play around with reboots and new number ones and jumping on points and things. Hey, g'day. And I think for me, looking at the anime and looking at the manga, like where do I jump in is so overwhelming of how much is out there. But so the show was a great jumping on point to learn about this world. And so I think it pulled it off and that's good. So yeah, maybe they were hoping to do that with Ahsoka too, pulling it full circle about like, they're like, oh, cool, you like these characters. Then while we wait for this writer strike to be over and you're waiting for the next season, then you're going to go back and watch Rebels. You're going to go back and watch Clone Wars and find these things. So yeah, I'm all for it. They're driving people to the content because they want people to keep streaming and pay for their subscriptions. But in terms of the world building and the characters, I'm there for it. So I'm glad to be a part of One Piece family too, even though I'm just a young Padawan at this point.
Yeah, you should start now. You should start reading the manga now.
You could do the manga and get caught up.
James, do you have the hard copies?
I have several of them.
Do you have number 1, the first?
I do have number 1. I have like 1 through 5 for sure.
Okay, I'll borrow that from you.
Okay, cool. Right on. Yeah, happy to do it.
Actually, I just saw a video recently. A guy figured out the cost of owning all of One Piece currently. It's like $1,100-$1,200.
Yeah. Just in, yeah.
And that's like with discounts. There's like a lot of good discounts.
Right. Yeah. It's
cool.
It's an expensive.
Like
all right.
Discount. Like $1. That's $1 per chapter.
It's worth it. Worth it.
It is worth it. I heavily considered it.
I think you should. We all geek out on something. We all collect something.
Just buy 2 or 3 at a time every month, and
I could just for the rest of your life. I could put them on that wall, and then eventually have a really interesting thing to look at that isn't these hats.
This is not going to do fun things to my sound, but this is my current.
Nice.
Want to get them all eventually. Yeah.
We should take that. That's another episode, like a YouTube. We could take a picture of our geek shelf and then like put them up on a slide and then describe it to our.
Do we want to get geeky? Hold on. Let me not give anybody motion sickness. I built this 2 weeks ago, These, I can't get it to focus on this no matter what I do, but these are my most recent 4 D&D characters. It was art I had commissioned. This one's on my credit card, actually, which I will not be showing on live. But he is on my
Focus in on that, folks. Somebody's out there doing it right now.
This one's named Tiberius, Josh.
Very well should.
If you're watching.
Oh, man.
Cool.
Well, yeah, Ahsoka is incredible so far. I think we've got some consensus on that. Excited to see where it goes next. One Piece met the expectation. The One Piece for so many more people now is real, and I think that they have just begun their journey, and so that is that's great. So everyone, thanks for jumping in here with us tonight and watching us talk about some things that we love. As always, connect with us on any of our social medias, Systematic Geekology. Support us on Captivate so we can get more people to be a part of this conversation. And as always, in the words of one of my mentors, the geek in me honors the geek in you.
This was an Anazao Ministries podcast. If you enjoyed this show and would like to learn more about our network, be sure to check out the Anazao Ministries podcast network.